Hello everyone, I am Tara the Fox, and let's play some DLC, specifically for James. So, after Seduce Me and into Seduce Me 2, Michaela Laws decided to make some DLC stuff, or side stuff, however way you want to call it, extra content. So today, since we just finished James, today we're going to go through some DLC through James. And there's actually quite a few. I was actually kind of surprised at how many options you could choose from. But again, this whole episode is dedicated to James, so that's the route we're going to go with. Today we're going to start off with Seduce Me, the Prince versus the Brute. Now, this one's actually my least favorite. And the reason why is because I just don't like the story. It was meh at most. I kind of don't like when two brothers pin against one chick. It's kind of not my thing. Maybe like friends or something, but not two brothers. I mean, come on. You could do better. But I really didn't like it. And this only features two of the guys, James and Sam. But again, since we're going to go through James, we're going to do his story. We're going to save Sam's version for when we finish Sam. And that's kind of how I'm just going to do it. I'm going to go through all of these, but once we're finished with the route with the guy, and then go through the DLC with the specific characters. So in this run, the Prince versus the Brute, we're going to try to get our Prince. And with that said, let us begin. What is your name? Well, we were Mika last time, might as well be Mika now. I lived in the mansion for about half a year. Even after I graduated from school, life in the house became one filled with interesting events and experiences. Why? Because I lived with incubi. My summer vacation became filled with boys living in my home, cooking me food, helping me clean, and overall just being the most intriguing roommates anyone could ever have. I mean, imagine it. You walk through the kitchen to get a drink and, all of a sudden, a really hot guy walks in to grab something, with his equally hot brother joining after. Or you meander down a hall and a guy clad only in a towel casually steps out of the bathroom. Yeah, it's a fantasy perfect for any visual masochist who loves seeing men. However, for me, it was reality. I lived with 5 extremely hot men who happened to be demons, and I have slowly grown adjusted to it to where I wasn't eternally drooling at the sight of them. It was hard, I won't lie, especially with the 2 of the incubi in particular. James, the eldest, and Sam, the middle brother. Both were extremely handsome to me, but were on completely opposite ends of the spectrum as to why. James was the picture-perfect image of a gentleman. He was kind, caring, wise, and extremely conscious of everything around him to where he knew exactly how to handle the problem his way. Also, he was tall, which kind of helped in situations. Hey, James, can you help me reach the top shelf? I want to check out the dishes for any cracks.
Huh? Certainly.
Now, as you could probably guess, the artwork has changed. Some of the DLC follows the artwork of the original art from Seduce Me, first one, but some of the artwork follows the change of art style from Seduce Me 2, the Demon Wars. Which I am aware of, and I have mixed feelings about it. Some things I like, some things I don't. So, Let us proceed. His height proved to be very useful, especially when I caught him shirtless. Add on the fact that he wore glasses, had perfectly groomed hair, spoke many different languages, and was the new CEO of my grandfather's company. And you had perfection all in a singular being. On the other hand, Sam was one of the opposite end of the spectrum in terms of personality and lifestyle compared to James. With toned muscles and strength for days, Sam never failed to make my jaw drop at the simple of actions. Grr, I can't carry this!
Hey, you need help lifting that?
Huh? Yeah, I'd appreciate it. I absolutely hate Sam in this style, I'm not gonna lie. He looks so young. Like 15 or 16, Jesus. You're not even legal, boy! Get out of here! While many people imagine him to be a total ass, once you got close to him, he was actually a pretty nice guy. He worked as a police officer, dedicated to serving justice, but always had time to help around the house and play video games with the two younger incubi. James and Sam stood out to me, and I couldn't get my mind off of them either. Sometimes I wound up picturing both incubi charming me at once before I had to smack my head with a pillow to snap back to reality. A charming gentleman or down-to-earth heartthrob. My heart was split. Even in my own house, I was lost in trying to decide. I couldn't have both. I knew that it wasn't fair to claim both. Deep within my heart, I understood that I could only devote my life to one. Yet it temporarily yearned for two. What the hell was I gonna do? Yeah, here's where I kind of hate this. This kind of really doesn't correlate with the original story at all. In the original story, you could choose one route of guys, and you kind of ended up going with them. And it just doesn't work well to me. It doesn't add up to this main story, and it just bugs me to no end. So, which is why we're gonna do it real quick and throw it out once we're done. We're gonna be done.
Hey, you alright?
No. Looking up, I was met with Sam gently laying a hand on my cheek and rustling my hair gently. His simple touch made my cheeks warm up, but I shook my head, pretending that nothing was wrong. No, I'm alright.
You sure? You look like something was seriously bugging you.
I'm fine, really.
Is there something we can help with?
Just my luck. James entered the dining room on the other side of my seat, cell phone in hand as his thumb quickly tapped a long text out to someone. Despite accomplishing this, his focus was on me, eager like Sam to know if I was okay. I half expected the others to show up as well. Sam took his hand off my head as I looked at the entrance of the dining room curiously. Seriously, guys, I'm fine. Where are the others?
Well, I just got word that Matthew's working overtime at the company, trying to perfect a toy he's been designing. Eric is at his tailor shop, working on a commissioned suit, and Damien is assisting him for the evening.
So it's just us.
Yep. Got a preference for dinner? I've been craving steak.
Well, I would prefer chicken tonight. We'd appreciate your opinion on the matter.
Suzu and Naomi? Well, like I said, we're going to go through the James route, so let's do chicken, baby. Tonight was chicken night. Sam shrugged, moving and taking a seat at the table. James, however, smiled and nodded before walking towards the kitchen, but not before giving my shoulder a slight squeeze. Huh? I looked up at James to catch a small smirk on his lips before he vanished into the kitchen. What? James took his time in making dinner, regardless of what he was making. James always made dinners smell absolutely delicious. I couldn't wait to dig in. I took the time to get lost in some online videos. There were a couple of cool Let's Players that I had been following, and I always managed to find time to watch them play new games, especially indie games. Is Terror the Fox Gaming among the list? Huh? No? Okay, fair enough. There were a large amount of girls I admired in the Let's Play community, and I made sure to stay up to date with each of them. They deserved it, after all. Oh, that's nice. Sam, however, kept his focus on his cell phone for some reason, typing and waiting as if he was in a text war with someone. He had thankfully learned how to read and write, so texting was easy for him, but he was never really attached to his phone in the first place. My curiosity got the better of me. What are you doing?
Oh, just texting.
Who are you texting?
Oh, Nanya.
Nanya? Nanya who?
Nanya Business.
Oh! I got served.
Sam, don't be rude.
James finally stepped in with a plate of food in each hand and a third plate on his elbow. He served me, then Sam, then set the third plate on the seat across from Sam for himself. Of course, as James would, he made pasta for the three of us. James had made us all chicken parmesan with farfalle pasta. I was ecstatic just from the sight, but the smell of the fresh scallion sauce melting with the cheese was mouth-watering.
Thanks for cooking, James.
You're welcome, Sam.
I had to stop for a moment and look up at the two brothers just from the sound of their voices. Something was up. Is something wrong? Both, as if synchronized by my voice, turned to me in surprise before shaking their heads. Okay, this is weird.
We're fine. Just hurry up and eat, doofus.
Sam, why must you use the term doofus? It seems rather insulting, don't you think?
Wait, what?
What's wrong with it? It's just a nickname.
A -1 at best.
Guys.
There's nothing wrong with the word doofus. You're just overthinking it.
It could be, but I also tend to give people a little more respect than calling them random titles.
Guys! Silence took over at last, but the boys still kept glaring at each other, as if their fight continued in their heads. What the heck was wrong with them? What the heck is going on? Why are you two fighting? No reply. It was like their mental fights turned into a war. I didn't want to make things worse by siding with one or the other without knowing what was truly going on, so I had to get out of the situation and make them solve things like the brothers they were. I had only eaten a portion of my dinner, and my appetite was already spoiled. You know what? I'm just gonna eat in my room. You two need to seriously talk and stop fighting. That seemed to break them out of their stare down. Both boys stared at me in surprise.
You don't have to...
Oh, shit. We're sorry.
Good night, guys. I'll see you both in the morning. I shook my head as I took my plate and left the dining room. Yeah, I need to give them space. They needed to sort out whatever hostility was between them alone. As much as I cared for them both, they were adults, and they needed to figure things out on their own. I finished dinner and did some work before going to bed. Maybe tomorrow they'd be okay.
Just what the hell was that about?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Don't start that ignorant bullcrap, James. I know you were trying to make me look like an ass back there.
I don't have to make you look like anything, Sam. You already do that enough yourself.
What the fuck is wrong with you? Are you really that obsessed about trying to show that you're better than me? That you'd stoop this low?
Trust me, if I was obsessed, you would not be able to be anywhere near this house. I'm merely trying to show my respect where it belongs and be a good role model.
Is ass-kissing what you call respect? How about treating someone like a normal person instead of shoving them onto a pedestal?
Let go of me, Alvaris.
You want to start using our real names now, Raystro? I have no problem solving this like the demons we are, your fucking highness.
As much as you're threatening me to put you in your place, I'm sure that we both would not like to go down that path.
Right. Because you have a reputation of being a gentleman.
I don't see a problem with having such a reputation when it's true.
Just because you're a gentleman doesn't make you better than me. I'd rather look someone in the eyes as an equal than be a perfectionist prick with a superiority complex.
Maybe so. Still, that doesn't mean I will concede to you over this.
I don't plan to back down either. I guess we're at an impasse.
Indeed. We'll just have to wait and see who she chooses.
Well, that was something. So, as you could probably guess, since I already spoiled it at the beginning, but yeah, they have a thing for us. They have a thing for Mika. But anyway, the next morning there was a strange air in the house. Eric, Matthew, and Damien were all up and off to work at dawn, as if a fire had started when the sun rose. I knew they had work, but to leave without saying bye was out of place for all of them. Morning.
Morning.
Good morning, miss.
I was left alone with James and Sam again. James had taken the day off to clean the house, and Sam was off duty, claiming the front yard of his rare Tai Chi practice. Part of me hoped that they had resolved whatever issue they had. Small inkling in my gut, however, told me otherwise. James had made breakfast for both us, but both he and Sam had finished and left the dining room to attend their own agendas. I ate in silence, trying to discern my own thoughts. As I finished my last bite, I slumped into my chair and sighed, wondering what the heck was going on. I didn't want to intrude, but maybe I had to this time. Okay. Maybe the problem was that bad. I looked out of the window at the dining room, catching sight of James tending to the flowers. As I turned to the archway into the main hall, I imagined Sam outside going into some meditation pose on the yard. Who was going to approach about this? Again? Hey, James. Hey, baby boy. I knew that James had a better level head, so speaking to him about trouble was much easier than speaking to Sam. I walked out to the garden, looking over to see James pulling out weeds and was oiling some of the plants around the windows. At my gaze, James stopped and turned to me with a smile.
Did you enjoy breakfast?
Yeah, thank you. James?
What is it?
Can I ask you about what happened last night? For a moment, James seemed to stare at me in silence before turning his gaze to the flowers in front of him and closing his eyes.
I must apologize for that. Sam and I are having some personal issues as of late.
What do you mean? Is there anything I could do to help? James shook his head and stood up, walking over to me with a small, reassuring smile.
I'm afraid this is something we'll both have to deal with for a while in private. It's nothing major.
I didn't like the sound of that. Something was off in his speech. I knew better than that. I wasn't stupid. James? I reached forward and grabbed James's hand, uncaring for the dirt that stained it. He stared at me in shock, but didn't pull away. Good. Let me help. You and Sam are brothers. You shouldn't be fighting like this. At that moment, I could see guilt paint over his expression as he lowered his head.
We are brothers. But
I could see him try and form words in his mouth, but he would not let his voice fill out what he wanted to say. It was like he was holding back some sort of big secret, one I needed to hear. To my surprise, however, he gently pulled his hand away from my grasp.
But this is something we really can't let you get involved in. I'm sorry. Please understand.
James...
I wish I could tell you the situation, but we don't want you to be put into a position where you feel uncomfortable and be forced to choose sides.
With the back of his clean hand, James gently brushed a strand of hair from the side of my face to behind my ear.
You deserve to freely make your own choices.
What did that mean? Before I could think on it more, my phone began to buzz. Darn it, phone! Huh? Excuse me. James silently nodded and returned to his work as I quickly rushed inside and answered. Much to my displeasure, my parents had called me, checking up on me and asking me if I was prepared for college. I had recently graduated from high school a month prior and was on my way to college, which was a quick commute from the mansion. I rushed to my room to continue the call, knowing that my ear would be attached to the phone for a while if both my mom and dad shared it in talking to me. It escaped me how long I was on the phone with them. When I was finally able to hang up, it was already time for lunch. Great. I slowly made my way down this dining room, thinking on something simple to eat, when my worries about Sam and James became real once again.
Would you get out of the kitchen, Sam?
Why? I'm trying to make lunch.
And that requires you to make a mess?
Hey, I'm trying to be nice and make all of us lunch, you ungrateful prick.
Oh no. I rushed into the dining room, but stopped as James spoke again.
Do you think making this mess will get her appreciation?
What?
Since when the hell was that your business?
Since you decided to come in and use up the ingredients I was going to use for our lunch.
I'm sorry, all right? I just want to.
You want to try and impress her with cooking, taking away a job I do in the house in hopes to earn her affections.
So what if I am? Not the only person in this house who can cook for her.
At least I don't have to make a mess to show my affection for her.
They both liked me? Oh, damn.
You're such an asshole.
Really pushing the limits of my patience, Sam.
What are you gonna do, huh?
That's it. Both of you, stop it! The kitchen was a mess. Sam and James were nose to nose with each other, anger flaring in their eyes before they turned to me in fear. They were caught red-handed, and I was going to set them straight, whether they wanted me to be involved or not. Both of you, dining room, now! I fought back the angry snarl in my voice. This was ridiculous. They were fighting each other over me? Despite being flattered, I was not going to let this continue on. Damn right, girl. I glared hard at the both of them, causing them to slowly make their way out of the kitchen and the dining room. Heads hung low in shame. I kept my eyes on them until they both sat at the table, one seat separating them. At least they respected who still owned the house. You will both sit there in silence until I tell either of you to speak. Got it? James and Sam nodded, staring at the table like children who were about to be grounded. I, however, took some time to fix the kitchen and make quick sandwiches for lunch. It gave me time to think on my plan of attack. They both liked me. That's why they were hiding the fight from me. They didn't want me to pick sides, but now it had gone too far. I felt conflicted. Both were being idiots about the situation. Were they that jealous of each other? Then again, they were brothers who liked the same person. I let out a sigh and placed my plate of food on the crook of my elbow while I carried both their plates to the dining room with my hands. After setting our food down, I crossed my arms and looked at both Sam and James. First of all, it doesn't matter who makes food for this house as long as it's done without something exploding and any mess made is cleaned after. James grimaced as Sam lowered his head further, timidly scratching his head. Second, this fight between you two needs to end. I don't care who started it, but I am not someone to fight over, especially not like this. At that, James and Sam stared up at me in shock. As their mouths opened in shock, I held up my hand up to ensure no sound would be interrupted from either party. Look, this is a really bad situation. I get it. However, fighting each other is not going to help anything. I care about both of you. A part of my heart began to break. I really did care and love both, but eventually I was going to have to choose. This was going to hurt. So, I'm going to need some time to think about this. No matter how this goes, I hope you'll both respect my decision. They stared at me, but they nodded in unison. As the situation hit them, they slumped their shoulders and returned their focuses down to the table. Do either of you have anything to say now?
No, miss. Just that we are extremely sorry.
Yeah, we're sorry. Take as much time as you need, alright?
Thank you. This was a very sad decision. James was the gentleman who treated me like no other man had before, but Sam was the kind of man who made me feel safe and kept me down to earth. Time began to fly by without me noticing it. I remained silent on both of them about my choice for days, weeks. They respected my silence and remained civil to each other. I truly cared for both. And yet, I knew one of them made me feel special, while the love I had for the other was deep. The affection I had for the man I truly adored seemed to be endless. How did it take me this long to figure it out? I stared at my bed sheets, lost in thought. I had made up my mind, yet I was worried about hurting the one I did not choose. No, it was okay. They would not hold any will against me or the one I chose. I knew deep in my heart that it was the case here. I just had to be brave and follow my heart. And my heart wanted... James! I slowly made my way down the stairs, hoping to catch one of the boys in the dining room or kitchen. Huh? Oh!
Hey.
I smiled softly. He seemed more relaxed than I imagined. Hey, Sam. We stared at each other for a long moment before Sam let out a small, defeated sigh.
James is outside.
Huh?
I know you well enough to know that you love him, and you're set on telling him. I had a snowball's chance in hell against James.
Hey. I walked up to him and placed my hand on his cheek, frowning slightly, softly. I still care about you, Sam. Despite carrying sad eyes, Sam smiled back and rustled my hair.
And I care about you. No. Don't keep him in suspense. Might as well go let him know how you feel.
A part of me felt relieved to know that Sam was going to be okay. I nodded to him and raised my arms to him, offering a hug. Sam was always the best at giving strong hugs. Sam wrapped his arms around me in a friendly hug, giving me a quick squeeze before releasing me and saluting on his way to the dining room. At that moment, I knew I was okay. James? At my call, I pinned my sights onto the man in question. He was staring at the flowers around the gazebo, stopping to turn to me at my voice.
Miss, is everything all right?
I couldn't help getting a small grin on my face. Everything's good, James. I just wanted to tell you something.
What is it?
I took in a breath. It was answering a question long overdue. My heart was skipping beats, and my face began to warm in a slight blush. This was it. James, I choose you. To catch 'em all. A moment of silence. James stared at me in shock at my words, taking in what I had said. My chest finally relaxed, and joy slowly took over my expression. James gently held up his hand out to me, holding his other to his chest.
I don't deserve you, but I would be honored to make you happy for as long as you will have me.
I know you will, James. I know you will. Something in my heart clicked. I had made the right choice. What would happen between us? All I knew was that I would find a perfect happy ending in his arms. And the princess and the prince. Well, that's it for The Prince versus the Brute. But we still have more to go, so let us continue on. Alrighty, and here we are with Seduce Me, a lesson in romance. This is kind of a short side story after the events of number 1. I'm assuming number 1. It might be after 2, but they don't really mention number 2 that much, so I'm assuming number 1. There's one DLC that it mentions a lot of number 2 that I'm going to wait until after I do the number 2 LP for that. So, but anyway, this is James, a nice little side story. But we're going to read it today, and we're going to enjoy it. Assuming you like James. And once again, we're going to be Mika, because why not? Imagine, if you will, you live in a gorgeous mansion with the man of your dreams. You could do anything you have ever wanted, and there was nothing in the world that could hold you back. Well, that was my life. I was the granddaughter of a CEO and had somehow earned his estate upon his death. The man of my dreams just happened to be waiting for me in the lobby of the mansion as I moved in. Mind you, he was mortally wounded and he turned out to be a demon, but that was beside the point. The man of my dreams, James, was smart, kind, caring, and very capable of taking care of not only me, but his 4 younger brothers. The 5 of them lived with me for a short while, making the house as lively as ever. However, I only needed James at my side, and soon enough, the younger 4 brothers left us to our own devices, wanting to start lives of their own. Living with James was like a dream come true. He always cooked breakfast and helped me keep the house clean, and during his free time, he tended the garden. There were often times when he and I would eat at the gazebo outside, enjoying the sun and fresh air. Work-wise, James had taken the position of CEO at my grandfather's toy company and helped expand it to new heights. He did his very best to make it the best company it could be, and wound up raising more money for charity than any other company on the planet. Needless to say, I was very proud of him, and was happy to know that my grandfather's company was in good hands. I was even more happy to call him mine. You are the best thing that's ever been mine. Sorry, I had to say that. How to say it. You know how to be said. Stop judging me. James and I had lived a dream-like romance for a year and a half. The thought of marriage often crossed my mind, but I left it to the hands of fate. If James was going to propose to me, then he would do it when he was ready. Nevertheless, the conversations we would have were interesting to say the least. One day I found him lounging in the library, lost in a familiar book. With a smirk, I crept inside and peered over his shoulder at the chapter he was reading. You really like that book, don't you, James? Jumping in his seat, James snapped out of his train of thought and stared up at me in surprise, making me laugh and grip the chair to keep from falling onto my knees from the hilarity.
Love!
Good afternoon to you too, James. Enjoying that story? I smiled playfully at James before taking the book out of his hands and looking at the cover. I was right. Love and romance, a study of intimacy. James cleared his throat as he shook his head and relaxed in his chair, trying to calm down from his sudden surprised outburst. You keep coming back to this book no matter how many others you read. Why?
It's an interesting commentary on romance. A writer falling in love with their manager and dealing with her own internal feelings is an interesting topic to read about.
Truly? I handed the book back to James before walking around and sitting on the empty seat across from his. James nodded and placed the book down on the table between us while he crossed his legs.
Remember, demons don't fully understand love. We may experience it, but we don't know it well enough to label it as such.
But you understand it, right?
Of course, but that doesn't mean that I shouldn't continue to read about it.
I guess you're right. But what does reading that book over and over do for your research on it? James chuckled and leaned back in his chair.
That book in particular shows the balance between love and lust, which, by contrast, is an emotion demons understand completely.
Completely? I'm sure there are some things that even you don't understand if demons don't understand love. Provoked by my statement, James raised his eyebrow with an amused grin.
Is that a challenge?
For a moment, I remembered James's powerful personality. This was a challenge of his intellect, of his intelligence, and such a dare would not remain undominated for long under his keen eye. As I mulled over the idea in the following seconds of silence, I could only find myself entertained by the idea of him trying to prove himself to me. To that, I smirked and lifted my chin a bit in a small taunting display. And if it was? The moment James smirked at me, I licked his lips ever so slightly, made me question everything in the form of a loud screaming in my head. What did I throw myself into? Still, my face remained unfazed, and I continued to stand my ground as James replied.
Then tell me, what could I possibly not know?
Oh, he wants a challenge. Oh, we're gonna give it to him. I stared at James for the longest time before settling into my seat, crossing my legs. If this was going to be a lesson in romance, then this was going to be one where I was the teacher. Alright then. Do you know what's the sexiest thing a person can do for another?
That's a bit specific.
I promise, there's only one answer. That was a lie. There was obviously more than one answer. But I hoped that he would draw the answer from our relationship rather than just form a generic answer. Either way, I would get him. James sat back and closed his eyes, thinking to himself and stumbling his answer. As he opened his eyes, he smiled. I'm gonna make a comment about the music. Just listen to it.
Make them feel cared for and cherished beyond anything else in the world.
His answer surprised me. I imagined him trying to weasel out of the answer with a gesture or a specific action. As his words hit me, my cheeks burned a soft pink in agreement. It was rather sexy to think about. The feeling of his hands along my body would make me feel like a goddess, worthy enough to be ravished. The kisses on my skin would paint me in a glow of love and compassion. The way he held me always sent me to a cloud nine. He had won this round. I nodded, pursing my lips as his smirk grew a bit. He interlaced his fingers and placed them on his knee, waiting for my next question. This had become a game of trivia, almost. Would he know all of the answers? I pushed forward, now determined to prove that I was right. Okay, but what about sexy clothes?
What about them?
What color of clothes should a person wear to attract someone? Another trick question. This is all a matter of opinion. It didn't take long for James to reply.
It depends on the person they wish to attract.
As James's eyes traveled up and down my form, I suddenly felt naked.
I personally would love to see you in black. Perhaps gold or red.
Damn it, he won again. But at least I knew what to wear if I ever wanted to seduce him into bed. I shook my thoughts out and knuckled down on my determination. I would not be beaten. I uncrossed my legs and leaned over my knees, faced a stone and called a statue. James raised an amused eyebrow once again as I threw a volley of questions at him, hoping to throw him off. Giving or receiving?
Giving.
Nightgowns or teddies?
Nothing at all.
Good answer. Kitchen or shower?
Both.
I was going crazy at the ideas forming in my head. This game of question and answer became one that heightened my libido in the most shameless of ways. Still, I would not give in. The questions came about a relationship more than just general romance and lust. The more he answered, the more I learned about him. I would use his response to my advantage later, but for now, the harvest for answers continued. Sensual or rough?
Depends on how we feel.
Fast or slow?
Start slow, then get faster.
Handcuffs or blindfolds?
Both.
James instantly covered his mouth with his hands, the slip escaping his lips and making his true feelings known alongside the embarrassed blush crusting his cheeks. As his answer rung in my ears, my entire face became beet red. What? James was into both handcuffs and blindfolds? What about other kinky things? Oh. Yeah, what other stuff are you into, Mr. James? Mr. Elegant Gentleman? Hey, it's all safe in the bedroom. Whips? Rods? James shook his head, so he wasn't into any sort of violent play. Being called master? Silence. It made sense, him liking to play in his dominance. BDSM? James closed his eyes and sighed into his palm before it fell into his lap and he lowered his head. As he spoke, I could tell he was being frank with me, dissolving his shame as he was speaking to the one he loved.
It's not something demons do, but I enjoy learning about it, and imagining it.
Where'd you learn about it? James chuckled softly, shaking his head.
A novel I read a long time ago. It was a study on fictional romance and the publishing of erotica in the last 10 years. It wound up in the piles of books I read when we first came to the human world.
Oh, really? That explained it. However, I almost didn't expect it from James. Eric, maybe, but not James. Looking at him, I could tell James was trying to come to terms with releasing this information to me. While he was talking to the one he loved, he knew that the topic was a pretty big one to drop in the game we were previously playing. I didn't want him to feel uncomfortable about it, so I spoke up again. Are you interested in trying it? For a moment, James didn't answer. When he did, I could tell that he was being open about it, now that I knew of his true feelings for it.
I would be lying if I said no.
James looked back up to me, his expression neutral in an attempt to remain calm. I leaned back in my seat and closed my eyes. This game definitely taught me a lot of new things about James. Would I pursue this new information and try it with him? That was up to me to decide later on. For now, though, our game had ended and it was unclear who had won between us. I had gotten my answers, but the last question threw both of us off. How would we determine the winner? I finally decided to stand up and walk over to James, letting him watch me as I sat on his lap, wrapping my arms around his neck and leaning my forehead against his. Maybe you do know everything. James finally relaxed and nuzzled my nose with his before kissing me softly.
Well, not everything.
Oh, this lovely jazz groove music. So good, so good. Huh?
I still have a lot to learn about you.
Me? Oh. James stared deep into my eyes, leaning back and removing his glasses as his whiskey eyes began to glow a soft golden color. I guessed as he smiled playfully at me.
It's only fair that I ask you the same questions that you asked me. Don't you think?
I stared wide-eyed at James. Was he seriously going to ask me the same questions I asked him? James chuckled lowly.
What? Are you afraid now?
No.
Good. Because I don't intend to be gentle.
Fuck. Well, that was it for A Lesson in Romance, the lovely little side story. But again, we do have more to go through, so I'll take a moment and head on over to the others. Be right back. And we're back! This time, we're gonna do Seduce Me Holiday episode. This one is pretty nice. You can get slightly different endings depending which guy you choose, but majority of it is pretty much the same. But, oh well. No big deal. Let us begin. And again, we are Mika, because why the hell not? New Year's Eve, a holiday celebrated internationally, is one of those turns of time that no one on this earth could avoid. It was one thing to spend it alone, hoping for the best and being unsure of the future ahead of you. It was also another thing to spend it at parties, throwing a drink at the past you trudged through, and dancing the night away. It was a very different story when the turn of the year and future beyond also somehow involved demons. The 5 incubi boys who had come into my life managed to stay in my home throughout the year, following my final high school quarter and past my graduation. Even as I entered college, they remained supportive and surprisingly eager to stick around. Unfortunately, they were still freshly known to my family and friends, thus why I had to spend my holiday without them. My family had insisted on me returning to their house and spending the holidays before New Year's with them. While bringing the incubi along seemed like a good idea, the boys collectively wanted to spend the holidays together and did not want to intrude on my family this year. After all, my parents still believed that they were the house servants. Bringing even one of them home for the holidays would have been an interesting story. However, I was devoted to spending my holiday time with them for the end of the year. When I was invited to places for New Year's Eve by both friends and family, I decided to stay home with the incubi. A part of me felt majorly excited. Another part of me felt like slapping myself over and over for letting them convince me that waiting for my holiday present was worth it. Still, it was rather hilarious to see them prepare New Year's dinner.
Oh my god! Sam, get out of the kitchen!
Shut up, you little runt! I just want to look!
You're in the way, Sam. Out!
Yeah, fine, sheesh.
We told you not to go in there.
We did, Sam.
I swear to God I will hurt both of you.
That's no way to start the new year.
Brotherly love. Gotta love it. Sam was completely right to feel impatient. James and Matthew had assigned themselves to making the New Year's dinner and had pulled out every receipt book in the library just to make sure they had the perfect menu. The aromas that wafted from the kitchen were intoxicating and almost heavenly. I felt my mouth water just from the scent. It didn't help that the kitchen had pretty much become locked territory. Unless you wanted an earful from James and Matthew combined, then it was best that you stayed out of the workshop. More teasing. Great. Whatever they're making smells amazing.
It is. They're almost done, though, so we won't be waiting long.
Well, that's good. They've been working all day on food.
Man, they need to hurry the hell up.
Quit being impatient, Sam.
Sam opened his mouth to fight back, but instantly shut it, most likely thinking the better of it, and grumbled under his breath as he turned to sit at the table. Soon enough, James and Matthew began to carry large plates to the dining room, setting them methodically around the table so everyone had the chance to get what they wanted regardless of where they sat. I was stunned once more by the sheer amount of food prepared, topped only by this tense aroma that melded almost perfectly in the air. It was like they were trying to take the record of how much food could be placed on the table from when they had arrived. At that thought, I took a moment to realize something. It had almost been a full year since the incubi appeared in my life. I had graduated and was now experiencing my first year of college with the incubi beside me. Now here I was, about to enter a new year with them in my life. I couldn't help but let a smile creep into my face from the thought.
Is everything all right?
Huh? I looked up, not realizing how lost in my thoughts I was. I came face to face with all 5 boys, looking at me in concern. Crap. Whoa, what is that face? Matthew, what is that face? Jesus. What is that face? Like, you look like you've seen a ghost. Like, Jesus, calm down. This isn't Luigi's Mansion. Calm down. I shook my head and took a moment to recollect myself before smiling once more. Sorry, I was just lost in thought.
Huh? What were you thinking about?
From the look on the boys' faces, all of them were curious to know. Did I want to be the cheesy nostalgic that brought up the past? Yeah, we do. I couldn't help the thoughts from appearing in my head. Might as well enjoy it with the rest of the group. I ran a hand through my hair and chuckled softly. Well, it's been almost a full year since we met, you know? I was just thinking about that. The boys stared at me before looking to each other in the same surprised realization.
Oh crap, that's right. We came here somewhere around April, right?
We did. Has it really been that long?
Damn, it feels like we only came here a short while ago.
Well, we've been here for a little over a year, and we've known you since April, so that's around 8 months.
Wow. Do you think we'd find ourselves in the company of such a wonderful woman within a year of being in the human world? We must be blessed.
I couldn't help but roll my eyes as Eric's comment, while the others did as well, in slight annoyance. Oh, Eric. Forever the ladies' man. Matthew and James continued to set up dinner while I became lost in my thoughts again. The memories of the past slowly flickered in my mind. Our first dinner, the house party, Malix and Diana. It was all surreal to remember, but they were real events in my life. Especially since I had my eyes on. And again, you can choose who you want. And as I said, we're going to James. James, baby, come here. James was indeed the perfect man. He was the CEO of my grandfather's company and was a loving, caring, and organized individual. He not only kept track of his brothers, but made sure to care for me as well. I was lucky to have a man like him to call my own. I was even more lucky to know that he valued me and was happy to have me as well. Staring at him as he set the table made my heart flutter slightly. Not many people could pull off the popped color look, and yet James did it with perfect ease. He definitely looked like a husband material. James noticed me stare and gave a little loving smile in my direction before continuing with his work. Finally, the table was set and we were all seated, ready to dig in.
I gotta admit, you and James did good, Matthew.
Thanks, Sam.
Sam and Matthew not fighting? It's a winter's miracle.
Hey, I'm not a complete asshole to him.
Only sometimes.
Well, it is the turn of the human year, so it's a good way to get the habit of being nice started.
Very true.
Damien laughed and I couldn't help but do the same. However, one curiosity burned in my mind. Hey, I have a question.
Yes? What is it?
What did you do last New Year's Eve? I had remembered them telling me that they had been in the human world for a full 6 months before my grandfather passed away. If that was the case, then this wasn't their first New Year's Eve. The boys took in the question and looked to each other.
Didn't we go to, like, New York or something?
Nah, we were in another continent by then. Like, Europe or something?
London. We were in London.
I remember that. We had such a fun time walking around and taking in the sights.
We were on the giant Ferris wheel when midnight came. It was amazing to see all of the fireworks from it.
Yes. The London Eye was closed off for the public, but since we were friends of Harold Anderson, we were allowed access and were lifted to the very top of it. A perfect view of the sky during the celebration.
Matthew couldn't stop jumping all over the damn place from how excited he was.
Hey, you were excited about it too. All of us were.
Very fair, Matthew. Still, has it really been a year since then? So much has happened since.
The boys seemed to trail off onto their own nostalgia memories, mentioning events of their trip around the world thanks to my grandfather. While I was happy for them, a little part of me felt left out. Sure, I didn't know them, but to have experienced the world with them would have been a dream. Maybe we could somewhere in the future? Heck, maybe I'd be able to see the demon world. Ha! 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 However, who knew the future? It was an unknown fabric of time that I had yet to explore, that no one had yet explored. All I knew was that now I was in the incubi's lives, and I was going to see the new year come with them in my life. I looked to my glass, seeing it full of my favorite drink, courtesy of James, while he was setting up the dinner. My own reflection greeted me, and I felt myself naturally take hold of it and lift it. Ahem. At last, the boys stopped talking and looked over to me in curiosity, as they noted my raised glass. I smiled. May I propose a toast?
Oh? A toast for what, princess?
The future. The boys listened intently as I looked up to my glass in new hope. The future was a mystery indeed, and while I wasn't part of the incubi's past in the human world, I was more than happy to be a part of their future. To a future unknown, but a future I hope to explore with you all. Silence consumed the air as the boys took in what I had said. Did they realize the same thing I noticed? Finally, James raised his glass and looked to his younger brothers, causing them to turn their attention.
Yes. To a future we can explore together. That sounds like a perfect toast.
As his brothers nodded and lifted their glasses as well for the toast, James looked to me and smiled, ushering me to smile back of the kind. Cheers! At that, we all drank to our toast, a future that was still unknown to me. I couldn't wait to experience it, but I was certain that my future was going to be absolutely grand. My heart couldn't stop pulsing with joy at the thought. I was excited to experience what was to come. We ate dinner and talked about the potential things that would happen in the future, new businesses, possible trips, and work. For the first time, I felt like I was part of the family, as I was listened to and spoke just as much as each incubus. However, as a sudden flare of fireworks flashed outside the window, and the sound wave echoed behind the glass, the boys flinched and looked over in shock.
What the hell?
Fireworks?
But it's not midnight yet.
It's the pre-celebration fireworks.
You have those?
Sort of. The school in this area loves to order a lot of fireworks and likes to set off the extras before New Year's comes around.
What are you waiting for? We're gonna miss the fireworks show.
The boys and I looked at each other and grinned before heading for the door. Wow! The sky was filled with softly falling snow. Each snowflake and star was illuminated by the bright, colorful lights of the far-off fireworks. I'd seen them before, but to see them in an open sky not surrounded by suburban trees was a whole different experience.
Holy crap.
It's all so beautiful.
Absolutely, Damien.
Truly magnificent.
You got that right.
I looked up to James, watching him comb his hair back with a smile. For a moment, my heart caught itself into my throat. He was as handsome as could be in the moonlight. I couldn't take my eyes off of him.
To think we'll end and start the new year with fireworks. It's almost poetic.
Yeah. One thought wandered in my mind. What was he thinking about? Was his mind on the fireworks, or was it about us? I knew the view from our front lawn wasn't exactly a view like the London Eye, but it was something we got to see together. It was one special moment that would last forever in my memories. At that, I giggled softly, catching his attention.
What is it?
I can't wait to see the new year with you. James stared for a moment before chuckling and nodding in reply.
The new year will be a beautiful sight to see if you're beside me.
Who could argue with that? It was at that moment I knew deep in my heart that I would have my happily ever after somewhere in that unknown future. Let the new year come. I was ready. And with that, we are done with the holiday episode. But we have one more James story to explore. And with that, I'll return in just a second. And here we are, back once again to the final DLC side story. This one is Seduce Me, the beach episode. So this one's very similar to the holiday episode. You get the main story, but you can choose who you want to get a slightly different ending, and voila. But it's quick and short, and we can easily get through it in time. So, let's stop blabbering and hurry this up, please. And again, we're Mika. Chicago is, to me, the greatest city in the world. It isn't crazy crowded, and it has the sights of New York City and Los Angeles in a wonderful package. The historic buildings and events that are peppered through Chicago are to die for. There is only one problem with Chicago. We don't have a beach. We have a lake. If you're the type that loves to surf, swim, or do anything remotely related to the beach, you would not find that kind of fun here. While you could do all those things in a lake, it's not suggested. The water is either too cold or too filled with questionable pollution to even dare try. At least you could walk around it and hang out with friends. So when the boys suggested that we go to the beach during dinner cleanup, I was completely dumbfounded. And as you can see, this is actually the old style. So, not sure which one kind of came first. I don't know, like this one was the early one, and then later the new artwork came after. I really don't know how it was organized. And I kind of don't care either. Sometimes you get this artwork, sometimes you get the new one. It's no biggie to me. Anyway. Wait, what? You guys, you mean the lake, right?
No, miss, we mean the beach.
Woo! We haven't gone to the beach in ages. Can we go now?
Which one are we going to?
Guys,
Do we have to? I got shit to do, you know.
You want a vacation too, Sam?
Get out of my head!
guys! The boys all looked at me as I exploded, catching their attention. Why was it that every time I demanded their attention, I had to yell to get it? Nevertheless, I glared at the boys, not understanding where the idea of a beach trip came from. We were in the suburbs of Chicago, and there was no beach in any of the four corners of Illinois. We have a lake, not a beach. Where's this beach idea coming from? The boys stared at me for a long time before James cleared his throat with an obvious smile behind his fist.
Miss, I'm suggesting a trip out of state to an actual beach.
Wait, what? How would we get there? James adjusted his glasses with a smirk before walking around the dining room table and towards the lobby.
I can have a jet scheduled for us with a non-stop flight. Hawaii has good weather today the last time I checked.
I'd almost forgotten that James was CEO now, so he had plenty of assets available to him. Still, Hawaii? That's like 9 hours by plane!
We'd sleep on the plane. Duh.
What the heck? What the heck would we leave?
It would be best to leave sometime very early. Remember time zones.
I can schedule our flight for 7 a.m. We'd arrive around noon in their time zone.
Excellent. I'll pack some food for us.
Woo! Man, I gotta find my swim trunks.
I'll pack the sunscreen. This will be fun.
Guess we're really doing this, huh? Damn it. Fine, whatever.
Sam, shut up. God, you're such a killjoy. I stared as the boys quickly dispersed to pack and prepare. Were they not going to ask me to come with? As I thought that, Sam peeked his head back into the dining room, glaring at me with a raised eyebrow.
Hey, you gonna pack or what? You're coming too.
Oh. What? What? Me?
No, the other Anderson in the room. Yes, you doofus. Now hurry up. If you don't, we're leaving without you.
Oh. Well, thank you, Sam. I guess you're not as stupid and sucky character as I thought. Sam disappeared beyond the archway, most likely to go off and pack his own. I let the situation sink in. We were all going to go to Hawaii and relax on a beach. It was a real vacation. I would have been stupid to say no to the chance to get away for a day, especially to Hawaii. I instantly ran to my room and began to pack my swimsuit and essentials, preparing for a long trip there and back. Even if we only stayed for the day or two, it was going to be a fun vacation. When we finished packing, we could barely contain ourselves. We were checking and double-checking our luggage, excited for this impromptu vacation. Matthew kept packing and repacking things, indecisive about what he wanted to bring. As 6 a.m. rolled around, we gathered our things and drove out to a private airport where James had scheduled a jet to pick us up. By 7, we were on a jet and soaring through the skies towards Hawaii. The excitement of the trip had me sleeping through the flight, hoping to make time go faster. By the time I opened my eyes, I was being ushered into a taxi, and shortly we arrived on the sandy beaches of Honolulu, Hawaii. I would like to go to Hawaii someday.
Ew, look at that view.
Wow, that looks so beautiful.
It's just the beach.
Don't let anyone hear you say that, Sam.
Wow. I couldn't stop myself from staring at the view of the ocean myself. It was breathtaking, to say the least. The air was fresh, and the view of the endless horizon captivated my senses. It took James clearing his throat for us to break our attention away from the sight and look back to him.
Let's set up a spot for us to relax first before we enjoy ourselves.
With a nod from all of us, we set up a small area on the shoreline, facing out towards the water. Our large purple and blue beach blanket became home base as we settled down and took in the fresh breeze. Sam stretched out, letting out a tired yawn.
Man, how long do we plan on sticking around? Not gonna splash and run, are we?
I've already arranged a hotel block for all of us to stay in tonight, so you're completely free to do whatever you like for the day.
What? Really?
Always thinking ahead, aren't you?
That's our older brother for you. Always 3 steps ahead of the rest.
Come on, Sam. Don't be a killjoy.
Don't let him fool you. He's just as excited as we are.
Despite the quick glare in Sam's eyes at Damien, Sam couldn't help but smile and nod.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, like, it's been what? Half a year since we had a real vacation?
The boys nodded in agreement. Had it really been that long for them? I had graduated and the summer caught up to us so quickly that I barely realized how much time had passed since the boys came to live with me. As I thought of it, a smile trickled onto my lips, remembering how close we had all become. I was especially close with, well, you know, James. I looked over at James, seeing him adjust his glasses and settle down on the blanket. He had stolen my heart the moment he offered his arm to me when we first met. I couldn't tell what it was exactly that attracted me, but I was positive that his leader-like aura was one of the million reasons I fell in love with the demon. As I stared, James caught my gaze and smiled at me sweetly, making my face burn a soft red, and I looked away in embarrassment. Sam and Matthew turned to each other and smirked.
Race into the water, Runt!
No speed boost, cheater!
And off they went, bolting towards the ocean with bouncing strides across the sand. Eric and Damien laughed before looking to each other.
Can we go collect some seashells?
It's like you read my mind.
Ha! Imagine that! Eric and Damien nodded to each other before walking towards a reef, focused on their hunt for seashells. I became determined to think of things that James and I could do. We could get a boat and ride across the water, or even just walk along the shoreline and watch the others enjoy themselves. As long as I was with James, I was completely okay. As I looked back at James, I noticed him sitting down on the blanket. He had laid out and pulled out a book from the bag we brought along. To my surprise, it wasn't love. It wasn't love and romance. It was a book with a pink cover and back. Huh? James?
What is it?
You're just gonna read? James nodded, lifted his book a bit for me to see.
I started this a while ago and still haven't finished. I might as well finish it now that I have the time to.
I see. It seemed a bit boring. Why would James go through the trouble of coming to Hawaii, then sit around and read? It made zero sense. Seeing my confusion, James smiled.
You're wondering when I'm going to have some fun, aren't you?
Well, I mean, we're kind of here to have fun, aren't we? Ow. I bit my lip. I didn't mean to give my thoughts away on my face, but James simply nodded and laughed a bit, causing me to look back at him.
I plan to eventually.
Eventually?
Mm-hmm. I mainly wanted to come here for them.
James's gaze turned to the ocean, causing me to look over and watch as Sam and Matthew raced each other in the blue water, with Eric and Damien sitting on a rock nearby, collecting seashells. There was the logic. He did it for his brothers. You knew they wanted to have a real vacation, so you arranged the perfect one. I looked at James to see him nod with a smile as he continued to look at his brothers enjoying themselves.
We may be adults, but I'm still their older brother. Whatever I can give them, I will happily provide.
Even if Sam fights you?
Even if he argues tooth and nail with me, I'll still take care of him.
I smiled, feeling my heart warm at the sight of such brotherly love. I walked over and sat down beside James, staring out at the water and leaning slightly against James's side.
Love?
You're so sweet to them. You know that?
I'm glad you think so. I hope you will enjoy yourself too.
I nodded before letting out a sigh and becoming lost in the sight of the horizon. This place is really beautiful. I was happy to be by James's side, even if he was simply basking in the sun with a book. James seemed to take the hint as he softly let out a chuckle and wrapped an arm around me, kissing my temple.
But it is nothing compared to your beauty.
That made my face heat up. I became red in the face, pursing my lips at James, and he smiled and hugged me to him. I love you, James.
I love you too.
My little vacation away from the world was perfect with... Wow, I can't read that for some reason. My little vacation away from the world was perfect with me wrapped in James's arms, staring at a gorgeous ocean, enjoying the fresh island breeze. I wouldn't have it any other way. And so that was the beach episode. And as far as I could tell, these are all the extras and DLC for James. Except for the one, the Happily Ever After. That one is, again, that's normally takes place after the events of Seduce Me 2, the Demon Wars. So, probably DLC after, if I decide to do that LP. But yeah, that's it for this DLC. Woo! We're done. James is officially done. We can say goodbye so long. The next time around, we're going to be playing with Eric. Oh, my favorite boy. But until then, I hope you guys enjoyed watching. I am Tara the Fox. You are the viewer. And I hope to see you next time.